What's up everyone, John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo here, and yesterday or this morning, depending on which time zone you live in, Sony took the wraps off their new PSP2 called NGP, which stands for Next Generation Portable. Presumably it's just going to be called the PSP2. Let's go ahead and run through all the facts and talk about them and analyze what you guys can expect with the next generation portable console. Alright, so first I'm going to run through all the facts and tell you what it's going to do, and then let's talk about it, because there's a lot of things to actually discuss with it. So it's got a very similar design to the current generation PSP, and not the bastard child PSP Go. This is the actual PSP, the 2000, 3000, 5000, 9000, the one that's long and oval. It looks very, very, very similar. It does have front and rear facing cameras, and I should say that specs were a little light. This guy's not getting released until holidays 2011, so Sony was just sort of nebulously talking about it. It's got a screen resolution on a 5-inch OLED capacitive touchscreen display of 960 by 544, which puts that at about 4 times the resolution of the current PSP. So super high resolution, things will look crisp. OLED screens are awesome. The blacks are going to look really black, colors are going to look bright and vibrant and pop out right at you. Not in 3D, but they'll look quite good. And a new touchscreen interface we'll talk about in just a minute. On the back of it, it's got 2 rear touch panels for extra navigation, extra buttoning. So you actually be able to do some navigation with games on the back. It depends how the developers use that. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. 3G and Wi-Fi capable, awesome, be able to pop in a SIM card. I don't expect this to be released on a carrier, although who knows what carrier might subsidize. 3G, they showed it with a SIM card, but presumably there could be maybe an LTE version or a CDMA version that might not use a SIM card. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe carriers are going to get into the gaming business. Maybe there'll be some sort of billing system where you can just bill your carrier directly if you want to download some games. And speaking of games, those games are not going to be played on UMDs anymore. All of your UMDs are now obsolete. So the hundreds and hundreds of dollars that Sony had you buy for the proprietary format no longer works. And you need to buy a new proprietary format. It's going to be flash card media. Looks pretty much like an SD card, a little bit strangely designed. But basically it is an SD card. So what are you going to do with all your old UMD discs? Well, maybe you can stack them and use them as coasters for tiny little coffee cups. Because if you want to play those games, you're going to have to download them again. And Sony hasn't said if there's going to be any system to offer free downloads of those games, but I would probably guess you'd have to pay for some of those games again. So not awesome. It's not going to be backwards compatible with your old titles. So it's also got a 6-axis controllers and a gyroscope, meaning you can move it and it'll change perspectives. This is not me driving a car, this is me holding a PSP and moving it around. So it'll have all those touch controls and be able to utilize motion for controls of the games again in the hands of the developers. It's going to have a new UI called Live Area, which is going to take advantage of a touchscreen. Essentially, it's a super invasive social networking. If you want it to, it can pull down features to tell you where you are at every single minute, what you're playing, what your high scores are, essentially let everybody know what you're doing. It'll do everything to tell all your friends, short of letting them know you're in the shower. And if you tell it to do that, it might actually do that as well. So, keep that in mind. As far as all that sort of pervasive stuff goes, not necessarily the biggest fan, but it is nice to see a capacitive touchscreen utilized on the new PSP. Presumably you'll be able to use that as well for some browsing action. 5-inch screen is really nice. This may serve sort of as a tablet functionality as well. 5 inches is really sort of a not too big, not too small, not necessarily going to throw it in your pocket, but you don't need a duffel bag to carry it around size. So you might be able to get some of your tablet action on there as well. Again, it's going to be launching in the holidays 2011. No pricing were released, nor any hardware specs, or further hardware specs, but Sony has claimed, and this is a big claim, this is going to be as powerful as the PS3. It sounds a little fishy, but who knows, they claim it's going to have a revolutionary new mobile processor. If Sony can come through on that, that's going to be absolutely tremendous. It may perhaps redefine gaming and really position Sony again as the mobile graphics leader when it comes to gaming, and the Nintendo 3DS is more of the I guess niche casual gaming market. Certainly the Wii has achieved vast market penetration, but there really is that same segmentation of the market that we saw with the Wii and the PS3 with casual gamers and hardcore gamers. And we're going to see that as well with the 3DS and the PSP2 or NGP or whatever PSP go to, whatever they decide to call it. You're going to sort of see that same schism, which is kind of interesting. One of the cool ways that you can use the PSP2 are those back touch panels. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Actually, when you use the device, if you ever use a PSP, your fingers sort of sit there if not hitting the trigger. So that's another dimension of control. I was thinking first-person shooters would be a great way to sort of move around. You're also going to be able to do that via two new analog sticks, so you can actually have full control over the guys as well, which are kind of nice for navigation. So here's the interesting thing about the PSP2 or NGP. It's not launching for about another 10-11 months, presumably around that time frame. So you have to sort of wonder what the market's going to look like in 11 months. If this thing launched today, it'd be an absolute killer and a beast and a bear. But looking at 11 months from now, the 3DS has already been out for 8-9 months. Ish. Presumably a lot of people that are looking for these games are going to want to pick up a 3DS to get sort of what's, at least right now, the most up-to-date mobile gaming. Also, what's going to happen to the current PSP line? You assume sales of that are going to go straight on down. And is there going to be a customer backlash because of the lack of UMDs? That sounds bad, but are you going to be upset that you spent so much money on a back catalog of games that you can no longer use? I guess that's sort of part of the generational evolution of consoles, and I guess mobile would be considered a console, but it's definitely discouraging to these many diehard PSP fans out there. So I'm really curious what you guys have to say. Are you excited about the PSP2? Are you not excited? 11 months is a long time from now. We'll have, presumably, the iPhone 5 in hand. Rumors of the iPhone 6 will probably be circulating. At that point, we'll probably have the Nexus, Google J, might be out. There's going to be a lot of mobile technology out and a lot of platforms that are really capable of mobile gaming. We may be very well in the heat of Tegra 3, those really fast dual-core processors that might be able to put the PSP2, give a little bit of competition as far as gaming prowess goes. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the market evolves over the course of the year. Personally, I'm excited about the PSP2 or NGP. I can't wait to get my hands on it and see if it really does define mobile gaming, but I'm also very curious to see how the market evolves over that period of time. So, I'm John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo, and I will see you in the next video. Be sure to check out Techno Buffalo for all your tech news and for exclusive content. Check me out at Twitter, twitter.com/John4Lakers. All the links for that business are down below. See ya!